Good afternoon and welcome to this month's webinar, Taking Your Profits First, Transform Your Business into a Money-Making Machine. Today's webinar is presented by NorthStar Strategic Partners. First, a little bit about NorthStar. We are a team of business strategies focused on helping your business increase profits. We ask the questions that you may not think to ask and examine the issues that may not always be at a surface level. NorthStar has helped numerous customers achieve, grow, and maintain prosperous businesses over the years. Our speaker for today is Wendy Roberts. Wendy prides herself on creating winning strategies while helping her customers maximize their resources and their profits. As a CPA, she knows her way around corporate financial. As an entrepreneur, startup CFO, and CEO for NorthStar Strategic Partners, and a former corporate executive, Wendy offers a broad insight into finding solutions to help her customers achieve exceptional growth and financial success. She has a bachelor's degree in accounting from Indiana University, MBA courses at University of Tampa, and years of experience counseling customers on financial and profitable success. Wendy is originally from the Midwest and was raised in a working class family. One of her most favorite and cherished hobbies is cycling. She never fails to miss a weekend cycling in the Bay Area and taking in the panoramic views. So all questions will be answered towards the end of the webinar. And let's hear it from Wendy.
Thank you, Shai, and a big thank you to Nari for having me here speaking today. It's a pleasure and it's also an honor. So I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about Wendy's why. Why did I create NorthStar Strategic Partners? What is it that prompted me after retiring from corporate America to come back out and help small business owners? This is actually my fourth company. I've sold two other companies, one of those companies to a publicly traded company. And I really wanted to take those skills that I learned in corporate America and really bring it down to the small to medium-sized business owner. Because there's some strategies around corporate America that has very successfully been able to create these wonderful companies that we all buy products from, that we can learn from and transfer those to a small to medium-sized company. So I started NorthStar Strategic Partners and Wendy's Why. With NorthStar, that was very deliberate. It was about creating an environment so that you could find your North Star. My why is to help every company that we work with find their North Star or their Polaris. The second, the word strategic, is that once I learned what was going on with corporate America and how I could transcend that to small business, I created a concept called the 4 points of focus. And profit first is one of those elements in our financial area, our financial pillar that helps companies grow and prosper. And then the last word, partners, being that we partner with you on that journey. You're not alone. We're here to help you. We want you to become the very, very best company that you can be. Again, reaching that North Star. So our learning objectives today are to understand the concept of profit first. It's pretty straightforward, but there is some nuances that you need to know about it and how you can actually comprehend to implement it. The second is, what are your key takeaways as a business owner? What things do you need to know in order to be able to prosper using the system? And last, how do you get started? So let's talk about some frustration that you might be having right now as a business owner. We all have them. As business owners, there are ups and downs, and that's okay. But you might have even greater frustrations that's not allowing you to move on to the next level. Some of those frustrations might be You don't have enough cash flow to be able to run your business. That's very, very important. Without cash, you can't survive. You don't have very good processes in order to create profits. The better your process, your standard operating procedures, the more profitable you're going to be. The third might be, oh, you know what? I don't have enough money to pay my taxes. And that's never a good situation. So we need to plan for that. I'm going to show you how you can do that. The fourth is you may have to rely on your next job in order to be able to pay living expenses. That's never a good situation either. And we'll talk about how we can overcome that. And then the last but not least is you don't have money for a rainy day, and it always happens. There's always a rainy day. So if you find yourself in any one of these situations, you're come to the right place. So let me ask you the question. What if you could turn your company from a cash-eating monster, those frustrations that we just talked about, to a money-making machine? Would you do it? So I'd like to be able to introduce you, and it's my honor to introduce you to Profit First. Now, Profit First is a behaviorally based cash management system. Notice the word behavioral. And there's a reason why we talk about it being the concept of behaving versus what is known in the accounting world in a profit and loss statement. I'm going to explain that to you. It's a system that enables you to instantly measure the health of your business and take simple actions just by looking at your bank balance. Your bank balance, because that's what cash you have in order to run your company. By taking your profits before you do expenses, and we'll look at that formula, it forces you, which is a good thing, to look about how you're spending your money. I can usually look at a P&L or profit and loss statement with you. I can sit down with you and I can find 10% easily on that profit and loss statement. Easily. That's going to add 10% more to your bottom line. And you might say, well, Wendy, how can you do that? First and foremost, think about all of those automatic draws you got coming out of your credit card or your bank account. Do you really need to pay that $79 for that amount that's coming out every month? Maybe you don't. Those are things we look at. Maybe you're not using your marketing efficiently. We would be looking at that. We'd be looking at different things on that profit and loss statement to help you get more efficient at what you're doing. So the next thing too that Profit First does is inspires you to think about how to be more creative. What things could I do that I could improve upon, that I can save money on? And this is a very important point, this last one. Having a small to medium-sized company that is consistently profitable can be worth more when you're ready to sell it than a larger company that struggles to sustain itself and not have cash. There's 8 critical factors that a buyer will take a look at when they consider purchasing a company. Cash flow is one of those. They want to make sure that they get their return on their investment. Ask yourself, is your company a cash cow where it just spits off cash and is going to be way more valuable than a company that drains the cash? And a company that drains the cash is not worth anything or very little. So going back to the why, the reason why NorthStar is here to help you make that profit and grow a world-class business by finding your North Star. Now let's talk about this new accounting formula. Remember, when you're looking at profit and loss statement, whether you're using QuickBooks or Xero or FreshBooks, a profit and loss statement, also known as an income statement or a P&L, is the same. It's your profit minus your expenses equal profit. But think about it like this. The new accounting formula for Profit First is your revenue or your sales minus your profit. you're taking your profit first, and we design it that way. So you take your profit first, and then what's left over, you spend on expenses. So in other words, you're paying yourself first, whether that's in owner's pay, or if that's in a 401k or retirement plan or SEP, whatever the case may be, you're paying yourself first, and then you're paying everybody else through your expenses. So it's designed to put more money into your pocket. And think about it, the way we do this, we create these little things. I want you to picture this in your head. Either a little plates, like 4 or 5 different plates, or buckets, or envelopes. Think about that. Visualize what that means, okay? Start visualizing that. And I'm going to explain why I asked you to do that. And then we allocate those buckets, right, based on the profit first allocation tool. Now, let me give you an example. What's very important to understand about this formula is that we will help you determine real revenue. Now, real revenue in this formula is what is left over after you pay your cost of goods sold. In other words, your materials to build a residential home and paying your subs. So this example that I just gave you, let's say you're $3 million in revenue total that you report as on your sales on your tax return, $3 million total. Let's say you have $1 million in materials that you pay out to go and get the lumber, the foundation work, all of that done. And you paid $500,000 to subs. So your real revenue that you're managing in your business is not $3 million, it's 1.5. It's the 3 million minus the $1 million in materials minus the 500,000 in subs. That real revenue number is very important. I want you to remember about the small plates and the real revenue. So the next process, this is a 4-step, there's 4 steps to this, all right? So the first one is we got to figure out what your profit should be. And we do that by determining the real revenue. And we use the profit first assessment tool. Then we set up separate bank accounts. And it might be 4 to 5. We'll talk about that. You might want to add a 6th in order for customer deposits, is up to you, but the normal is around 4 to 5. Then step number 3 is you want to remove that temptation. Make it hard for you to go and get that money. Maybe put it in a separate bank altogether. Or maybe with a company like Merrill Lynch, where it's hard to get. You want to remove that temptation. And the last thing is you want to implement. So let's dive down into this a little bit. And let's talk about each of these steps more specifically. So number 1, remember I talked to you about the real revenue. You notice in the upper corner of this chart on the left-hand side, real revenue. So in my example, I'm using $1 to $5 million of real revenue, the money that you're actually managing, not what you report in your tax return, the money you're actually managing after you pay for your materials, after you pay for your subs. So in this example, this is a mock-up, but I'm going to show you an example as we go through it. We use the profit first tool in order to determine the exact percentages. You'll notice in this example that real revenue is 100%. Then we say, okay, we want 10% to go to our profit account. Remember those small buckets, our small plates that I talked to you about? Here they are. Profit, owner's pay, tax, operating expense. There's your 4 bank accounts. So we're allocating money from our real revenue into our profit account, into our owner's pay, which is what you pay yourself, to the taxes, and then the last one is deliberate. The last one is operating expense, and that's the people that you pay after you pay yourself. And we got 65%. So let's dive down into this example. So when we're looking at your current P&L, we're running at what you have currently, and we notice, oh, you've got 85% going to operating expense. Remember our target in the previous example. And on the right-hand side, we wanted to get it to 65%. So we got to cut 20% somewhere. And we help you go through that process looking at your profit and loss statement. Then we had 2% going to profit, not good. You can't build a company, you can't elevate that company, you can't move to the next level if you don't have the cash to do it. Then we've got owner's pay, which is that 13%, and 0% going to tax, which means you potentially have an issue filing your tax returns and paying your tax if you don't have money allocated for Uncle Sam and the state. So on the right-hand side is we project this over 8 quarters. Now you might say, well, why do you do it 8 quarters versus let's just do it and get it done? Well, the reason is it's really hard to cut 20% right away. We want to do it gradually over time so it's not difficult for you. It eliminates the stress. And over those 8 quarters, then you start becoming a lot more optimized in how you're running your company. And it makes more sense to do it this way over a period of time. So using our Profit First tool, we now say, oh, okay, I got to cut 20% to 65% expense, operating expense, 10% to my profits, which I also call the celebration fund, 10% to the owner's pay, and 15% to tax. You might say, well, tax seems like a little high total, of doing our real revenue. Well, it's not really. Besides, if you have a little bit left over in your tax account, you can keep it there, or you can give it to yourself as a distribution or as a pay. You're paying yourself, or put it into your profit account or celebration fund. So let's talk about step 2 now. And step 2 is critical in that we need to set up those accounts. So notice we've got deposits flowing into that income account. Again, visualizing those small buckets or those small plates, right? We've got 5 of them. We've got an income account, we've got a profit account, we've got our owner's pay, we got a tax account, and we have operating expense. Now remember those percentages, right? Income's 100%, that's your real revenue. We allocate based on profit, 10%, owner's pay, 10%, tax, 15%, operating expense, 65%. Now, as I mentioned, you may want to add a 6th account. This is up to you. If you take in customer deposits and you want to put some discipline into that, you can put the customer deposits into the 6th account and then take it out when you need it to work on that particular job that you are doing. Now, let's talk about step 3. Step 3 is very important. I alluded to this already. You want to remove the temptation. I like to say to people we work with on Profit First, out of sight is out of mind. If you don't see it, if you don't have easy access to it, you forget about it. That's what you want to do. And then the last step, step 4, is that we want to implement it. Now, implement is probably the hardest because it takes discipline. And we always talk about that distribution. What's that perfect time to distribute, right? You want to allocate, as we did in step 2, and then we want to distribute, which is very important. Timing is everything. And then we want to pay our operating expense or our bills. So notice the sequence here. Allocate based on those small plates, right, through distribution, and then pay your bills. Now you might say, well, Wendy, what's the best time to do this? You can do it once a month, twice a month, whatever you're comfortable doing, just pick a date and be consistent. The thing about Profit First, in order for it to make it work, that's why I think step 4 is probably the most critical once you determine your allocation, is to have a rhythm and stick with it. Be consistent, be disciplined. Discipline is the key. So here are some of the comments coming from customers about working with NorthStar and implementing Profit First. And this one customer, they were not very disciplined. They are now very disciplined. And in the 10 months time, and this is a professional services firm, they've accumulated over $100,000 in their celebration fund. Remember, I said you could do a profit account or a celebration fund. I like to call them celebration fund. They have over $100,000 within those 10 months, and they now have been able to save money for their taxes, which they were struggling to do before. And we have helped them increase their top line revenue, their real revenue, by 30% by doing things a little bit more efficiently and finding areas to save money on their profit and loss statement. Here's a quote from another customer that we've worked with on Profit First and just overall using our 4 points of focus. He says, Wendy and her team are absolutely on top of it. We meet twice a month and there are always tasks generated at these meetings. The tenacity of Wendy and her team is unrivaled. Not only would I recommend this company, but I do actually recommend Wendy Roberts and NorthStar. So you might say, I've got a lot of debt that I got to get paid off first before I can implement this. The important thing to know is that you can do both. You can start paying down your smallest debt and do profit first. Remember, you might have money left over in the tax account. You might have money in your celebration fund that you can help you pay down your debt. It's very important to be able to go ahead and start profit first, even if you have debt. Don't let debt hold you back or become an excuse. You might say, oh, we're struggling with cash flow. I can't make my bills. Well, then maybe you need to have us help you address that. Why aren't you able to make that cash flow that you need? Maybe we can help you look at your profit and loss statement, figure out where we can cut costs immediately to add that 10% to that bottom line. And lo and behold, that's 10% of cash flow that you didn't have before. And so, again, I'm going to recommend that you not wait. You might say, well, when do I start? Start tomorrow. Start today. It's very important to just get started. So remember this. Always take your profits first. Pay yourself first. You work hard for your company. Construction is a very difficult. My dad was in construction. It's a difficult place. It's a wonderful occupation, but it has its challenges. Always take your profit first. Focus on what comes first. Profit. Create those profit accounts for those rainy days. Remember, bank balance accounting does work. And the proof that we have for that is you might be able to open a 401k, a retirement fund that you might not have been able to do before. Now you can. And we have examples of that. Working with Profit First and the 4 points of focus, we've been able to help companies create more retirement funds for not only themselves, but their employees as well, which helps you retain employees. And remember the formula: sales minus profit equals expenses. You pay yourself first, you pay others last. So let me just go over this very quickly. What happens when you start working with NorthStar, or we like to call it NSP, NorthStar Strategic Partners for shorten. We want to make sure that you are on track either with monthly or quarterly goals. That's so important. Those monthly goals, we work with you. We also do what's called 90-day sprints. We gauge ourselves every single month and every quarter, and annually we have what we call a rolling cash forecast. It's so important to be able to look out 12 months out and know where you want to go with your company, then go into little fours, which I call the quarters, the 90-day sprints, and then managing it monthly. We'll help you adjust your profit goals going forward, and we'll work with you every step of the way in implementing Profit First and the 4 points of focus. So what's your next steps? What are those things? If you say, you know what, I really like Profit First, I really want to implement it, think about doing a 30-minute call with me. It's complimentary. I always give a 30-minute initial assessment. and we'll figure out what's the best steps for you. And once you start saying, yeah, I want to move forward with NorthStar, then we'll do a profit first assessment. And we'll create that action plan so you can get started right away. And here's on our next slide, it's a little bit about what we do. Again, the 4 points of focus, which profit first is part of the financial end of it. The other parts I can go over with you. We focus on operations and how you are managing that. We look at your customer base and how you attract that customer. What does it cost you to do it? Then we look at your people. Do you have the right people in the right seats? And are they an engaged team? So those are the 4 points of focus. Is a holistic approach so that you can better manage your company. We'll create those evaluations that you need, and we'll look at, potentially fractional on-demand CFO work, as well as key performance indicators and any types of assessments like evaluation. If you need to know, hey, what's my company worth? We do that as well. So here's my contact information with my phone number. Go info at NorthStar-SP, and we have all our social media. So with that, I appreciate your time today. I know it's very valuable. You cut out time to listen to me. I hope my objective was for you to learn a lot. And I hope that you have some very wonderful key takeaways. And I'm open for some questions.
Thank you, Wendy. We have a couple of questions that came in. The first one is this. I take a salary from my payroll. Do I still need an owner's pay account?
Great question. And I would say yes, because you're going to be if you're 1120S or a partnership, you're going to be taking distributions. So I would say yes to that, no matter what type of entity form that you are, whether it's a sole proprietorship, a partnership, a S corporation, or a regular C corporation. Having that separate account, the owner's pay account, will help with anything that comes along, such as rainy day or for distributions, or maybe that 401k that you're looking for.
Thank you. Another one is this. You mentioned that you must open multiple accounts when using Profit First. Wouldn't this be difficult to keep track of?
Yeah, great question. And I do get a pushback from other accountants and bookkeepers is that it creates more work. And, it does to a certain extent. But the better organized you are and the better your books are organized, and as long as you have that connection with QuickBooks or FreshBooks or Xero, whatever, with your bank account, your credit cards, and they're talking automatically, it's pretty seamless. So it really doesn't add that much more work. And it also enforces you to be disciplined and make those distributions so you don't have an excuse why you can't do Profit First.
Awesome. And lastly, the question is, my business is currently in a challenging situation. How can this method be implemented to help me get back on track?
Great question. And I would say there's probably a fair number of companies in this situation, especially with COVID and what we've gone through. Implement Profit First, because it will have the discipline that you need to put money into those different bank accounts. It's so very important to have the discipline and the consistency. Once you start doing it, it becomes seamless and you forget that you were in a cash crunch. You will see your cash grow with this system because you'll be more efficient, and that will garner you more cash flow so you can move on and grow your company and you can move to that next level. And I think Jen's on the call, right, Jen? Are you here?
Yes.
Hi, Jen.
Hello.
Hi. So I know that you are a Profit First.
I am. I'm looking for the book.
Okay. So you use Profit First, right? And you've been using it for how long?
I love this author. By the way, The Pumpkin Plan is another really great book.
Okay.
I would say 4 years now, because I saw that I was profitable, but at the end of the year, I was like, why do I only have $7? Because I spent it. I spent it all throughout the year and I had no idea. So I got really serious about doing it. And so I have I have so many buckets. Check out my buckets. This month, we're going to be finally going on a European cruise that I've always wanted to go, a Mediterranean cruise. And so I actually have the Italian vacation account. So I've been saving for 3 years. That's the Italian vacation account. I have, look, here are all my checkbooks. Here's all my registers. I've got my personal account. I've got my operating expenses account, salaries, Rockstar marketing income. That's where all the income comes in, and then it gets distributed to the others. Here's my Italian vacation one, taxes account, profit account. And by the way, I am happy to report, Wendy, you'd be proud of me, that when I got to a certain amount of money in my profit account, it's now placed in a high yield savings. So it's earning additional 4.25% interest.
Awesome.
So yeah, I mean, I still stress about money. Trust me, every business owner stresses about
everyone,
money at some point.
Totally.
But to be able to see where everything is, to know that I'm good and I can take this vacation and walk away from my business for 3 weeks, knowing it's not going to burn down to the ground.
Yep.
It feels good. And it's largely in part to profit first. So keep preaching the good word, girl.
All right. And for those of you listening to the live webinar and to the recording, this was not planned, by the way. This was not planned. I just found out before, we got on that Jen was using the system and that she loved it. So I said, okay, well, let's hear what you have to say about it. And does it really work? So I want to point out a couple of things that you mentioned, Jen. The first one is your Italian vacation. That is the celebration fund that I talk about. So you can use that celebration fund for anything you want. You can use it for a vacation. You can use it for a corporate retreat. You can use it for other things, that maybe paying bonuses to your staff or paying bonuses to yourself. Whatever the case may be, that is money that you've worked hard for, and you get to decide what to do with it. And the reason why you can de-stress from that is because you have a tax account that's going to cover those amounts. So you don't have to stress at the end of the year when you're trying to file your taxes, or if you have someone who prepares the tax returns for you, you don't have that stressor, right? Think about it. If you owe $50,000 in taxes and you have to go find it because you didn't have a profit first methodology, or you didn't have the tax account, how stressful would that be for you? But if you had the tax account and there's 50 grand sitting there, and you get to be able to, I know it's all difficult. It's all difficult for all of us. I'm a taxpayer too. Writing that check out to the IRS, writing that check out to the state. But here's the thing. Whenever I have to write that check, I say, well, at least I got it. At least I have it. And I don't have to go struggling, figuring out where to go get it. I got it. And the next thing that you mentioned, Jen, is I do a lot of webinars on selling a business, buying a business. You've attended some of those. There's those 8 critical factors that we talk about, right? One of those you mentioned was cash flow and not knowing where my money is going. That's so critical, knowing where your money is going. And cash flow, again, I'm going to reiterate this because I talked about this earlier on around those 8 key factors. Financial performance is a very important aspect for a buyer of a company. They want to know how profitable your company has been over the last several years, and what are the projections for you to do in the next 1, 2, 3 years. Because don't forget, they're putting an investment in to buying your company, and they want to know what that ROI is. A second key element of purchasing or selling a company, it goes both ways because it takes a buyer and a seller, just like selling a house or buying a house, is that company a cash cow or is it a cash drain? If you can show that you're consistently putting money away into a profit account or a celebration fund, guess what? That's cash flow for a rainy day. That's cash flow that a buyer is looking at and saying, oh, okay, I know I'm going to get my return on my investment. So it's those things. I hope you see how it's all intertwined, these 8 key factors, how profit first flows in. We pull that all together in our financial pillar of our 4 points of focus. we pull it all together so that you increase the value of your company over a period of time by getting more profitable and helping you grow. So thank you, Jen. I hope that all of you listening today, you got to hear from a real life person, unprompted, for who actually uses Profit First and then how it has helped her transform her business.
May I add something, Wendy?
Sure.
Okay, so I read the book and it took me like a year to finally get off my butt to do it. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are several people on this call listening in
who
were like, well, that sounds like a lot of work. Okay, so when I decided that I was going to break my stuff into different accounts, my banker was extremely happy to help me. So I go to Comerica Bank, which is, you know, a relatively local regional bank here in California. I think it's based out of San Jose, California. Anyway, I wanted to get their help putting all these different accounts together. They were very happy and gracious to help me. And then I wanted to nickname them. And so, yes, so when I go to the bank, I say, this is for my profit account. And in their system, it says profit account. This is for my Italian vacation. And then that way they understand the language that I'm talking. So it also, I feel rich holding this many checks and registers. Like, I feel like a poker dealer where it's like, pick one. But like, I don't know, there's just something about putting money in and knowing where it goes and feeling organized. And Wendy, you're absolutely right about knowing where my money is for the taxes. So I've gotten it so good to where I've just got a slush fund of tax money like waiting. And so I've gone on to the California Franchise Tax Board website where I automatically schedule web pays. So it's just automatically taken out and I'm not stressing out over anything. And everything's done early. My stress level is so minimal. And so when it's tax season, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm already caught up, whatever. Oh, I need to write a small check for something. No big deal. So seriously, folks, get on the bandwagon. Wendy is your girl. She's not paying me to say this. I'm just truly a convert after years of struggling. And we're now celebrating our 14th year this month of being in business. And I would say that the last 4 years have been extremely profitable thanks to Profit First. So get off your butt, go talk to your banker and go do it.
There you go. Awesome. Testimonial, unprompted. So in wrapping up here, you know, again, I want to thank Nari. I hope that all of you have learned something with this webinar. Profit First is a system that really does work. It's simple. It's easy to implement. You got to have the right percentages. You got to know how much to put in. But once you do that, it's very simple. And again, it's part of our pillar of the 4 points of focus, in which we use that. And we also use other systems that we've developed to be able to grow a very profitable company for you that eventually someone will be able to want to buy, which should be everyone's goal. And one other plug I will do is my book is coming out called The 4 Points of Focus, the only business compass you will ever need. That's coming out towards the end of November. So with that, if there's not any other questions, I will turn it over to Tanya from Nari for any closing comments.
Well, thank you to you, Wendy, and for Shai as well. And thank you everyone for coming.